Aleph won the initiative roll and started the battle off with a Naga moving up to one of the panoplies and accessing it, managing to retrieve an adhesive launcher. After this, on the other side of the battlefield, so over on the right flank, the proxy Mark V forward observer moved up to another panoply and managed to extract smoke grenades. Now this had me quite worried because I knew there was a Deva with a Spitfire in the backfield, and that could be a real threat to my front lines. The proxy Mark V decided to make immediate use of this new advantage, but not in a way that I was expecting. He retreated back and skirted round the line of sight of my Wu Ming link team and put smoke over the top of the central panoplies, allowing another troop from his army to advance and take a weapon. The first Naga re-camoed before the second failed a whip roll to take a weapon out of the central panoplies. This left him in a vulnerable position when the Yujing turn began. The core of the ISS army was a 5-man link of Wu Ming, with 2 heavy rocket launchers up behind the low wall at the front, and a boarding shotgun forward observer on the far left behind the building, and 2 submachine guns. Now it was very tempting to start the turn by advancing them forwards and going for targets up the left flank, but I was aware that the proxy with the heavy rocket launcher had a perfect line of sight to all 4 of my Quang Shi and my Celestial Guard over on the right flank. So the first thing I did was link all of these troops together to prevent them rushing forwards and getting shot, which they inevitably would have at the range they were in. So over on this flank I took full advantage of the plus strength smoke, and I launched smoke from my Celestial Guard so that my other troops could advance without being seen. I then moved up the Ru Shi, who you can see standing next to the troops here, up to the low wall, and took some surprise shots at the heavy infantry proxy. I was feeling good about my chances. I had cover modifiers, I had smoke modifiers, and I had used a hacker to give him marksmanship level 2, ignoring the cover modifiers to hit. However, even though I scored 4 hits in the first round of shooting, the proxy managed to pass all 4 armour saves, and the second time I shot at him, he scored a crit on a 7, nullifying my critical on a 9. I then tried to fire a 3rd time, and I hit 3 times, but was beaten by yet another crit from the proxy, and I failed 3 armour saves in a row, taking the Ru Shi out of the battle without having caused any damage whatsoever. My opponent's dice were well and truly on fire, and I was really dreading a situation where this luck held up for the rest of the game. It was a good laugh though. Here we have a shot of the position of the victorious proxy and the rest of the Aleph back line. As you can see, if I moved the Wu Ming link forwards, they were going to be sacrificing their powerful long-range weapons and would have to rely on their short range only. Because the main points in this game are won by killing more of your opponent's army points, Putting my Wu Ming in this dangerous position did not seem like the strategy to take, and I decided to play a longer game and be defensive for the rest of this turn. I love to imagine the look of dread on the Quangshi's face as they realised they would now have to advance into fire once that smoke cleared. So what I did is I moved them forwards to the wall in front of them, so they would start the next turn out of line of fire of the proxy if he was still there, and I reformed the link of Wu Ming over on the left hand flank. I also needed to figure out a way to remove this camo marker hiding behind this box, and also get rid of the Naga by the central objective. I started off by killing the forward observer proxy with a rocket launcher before relocating slightly and shooting the HMG bot. The HMG bot proved more than a match and scored a critical hit on my bow and another hit. I saved the armor roll, and I then went and used the Sofatex Yule bot to repair the downed Wu Ming before reforming the link once more. The second time I shot, I used the other heavy rocket launcher Wu Ming, so if I got hit again I was less likely to be taken out of the fight. The HMG bot went down to this round of fire, thankfully. With these two troops out of the way, I was able to navigate my hidden deployment ninja into combat with the Naga. He failed to kill him, but I decided not to spend any more orders and simply lock him down in combat in the midfield, as I was running low at this point. I spent one of my last orders rearranging the Wu Ming slightly, as I could see a couple of ways that they could be assaulted by the Aleph side if I left them where they were. Some similar repositioning went on with the Quangshi over on the right flank, as the Quangshi and the Celestial Guard were all in their own order pool. Those orders would have gone to waste if I hadn't utilised them. I also put the Celestial Guard on suppression fire. One of the Quangshi that I'd repositioned had actually managed to get a line of sight on the camo marker behind the box. My opponent had decided not to react, as I still at that point in time had 4 orders left to use with that team, and he would have been in an invulnerable position. He decided to risk moving him this time, but my Quangshi managed to roll a very good discover check against his troop, who opted to lay down a mine. The Naga then opted to move again, and my Quangshi got a lucky hit and managed to put the Naga into V-dogged state. My opponent knew his Naga was dead at the end of the turn, so decided to plant 3 mines to attempt to prevent me from coming round on the right flank. It was now over to the left flank for what could have been a turning point. My opponent landed a Garuda, who came round the corner and first managed to wound the Wu Ming with the boarding shotgun. The Wu Ming with the boarding shotgun retreated, forcing the Garuda to come further around the corner. The Garuda, luckily for me, went down to a boarding shotgun blast from my Wu Ming with heavy rocket launcher. It's very convenient that these guys have both long and short range offensive capabilities, and in this game it definitely saved me. At this point I'm very happy that I hadn't moved the Wu Ming link team forwards, as I was not expecting this tactic, and I'm quite sure that he would have managed to do me a lot more damage if I had done. The manoeuvres by the Garuda had eaten up a lot of orders, and hadn't left enough for the Aleph troops to advance to attack the Wu Ming. So my Aleph opponent decided to redeploy his heavy infantry proxy to better cover any advance to the central panoplies or on the Aleph lines. The first move of my second turn was a risky one. The ninja killed the Naga he was in close combat with, and then attempted to rush and dodge towards the box. He failed to make it, but what he did manage to do was finish the order after killing the Naga within 8 of the enemy HVT. And the HVT was 8.5 inches away from the closest Aleph model, so I was able to claim that specialist objective. If you will forgive me, I forgot to mention that before the ninja acted, over on the right hand flank, the Quangxi had managed to surge forwards. One Quangxi advanced far enough to detonate 2 mines, and this allowed my another Quangxi and my Celestial Guard to both reach the panoplies and take out a weapon. They didn't get anything spectacular, and it didn't really play a part in the game afterwards, so I cannot quite recall what they got. Just remembered what the Celestial got. He got +2 armour. Okay, back to the exciting part. As I'm sure you could tell from that picture, this was when I decided to go all out offensive, and the Wu Ming Link team started to advance on the Aleph position. They moved up to the wall in a way that maintained cover, and the lead heavy rocket launcher shot first at the proxy heavy infantry. He got hit 3 times. He got hit twice and passed all his armour saves, and he then dodged out of my line of sight and towards the Deva with Spitfire. I then advanced slightly further along the wall so I could shoot the Deva with blast mode. This managed to hit both the Deva and the heavy infantry proxy 3 times, and both of them went down. The Deva taken off permanently, and the proxy down to unconscious. Much to my opponent's annoyance, I spent the last 2 orders retreating the Wu Ming back to a more defensible position. The heavy infantry proxy decided to try and move around to attack my Wu Ming, and he was taken down this time by a critical hit from a Wu Ming with a rocket launcher. The last thing the Aleph opponent tried to do was try and send the Yud-bot to heal the heavy infantry proxy. It was shot before it could get there, and at this point the Aleph player called it game. I had enough orders in my turn to advance on the panoplies and take out 1 more weapon, allowing me to claim that additional objective point. By the end of the game, the Yujing army had 241 points remaining, and the Aleph had 146 points left on the table. I had also managed to kill more specialists and obtain more boxes from the panoplies. So this left the final score at 0 to the Aleph and 7 to Yujing. Okay, and that is almost done. Would just like to thank my opponent for 3 fantastic games and a good start to Wotan.